What's up, people? My name's Avanish, Hegde. Yes, you're watching another episode of Sportingly Social, the last one of season 1. Yes, you heard that right. The fact of the matter remains that I've decided to do stuff for the IPL, so I won't probably be preoccupying myself with Sportingly Social. But don't worry, because I'm going to be doing different types of content going forward from here. But I really thank all of you all for being part of this special show and making it such a success indeed. But having said that, it's a terrific show. We have so much lined up for you in this last one of season 1. So let's get straight into it and tell you what's coming up. Yup, the Premier League is back and Arsenal see themselves win along with Leeds giving Liverpool a run for their money. Before we talk about the US Open, yes, certain talking points, the winners and the losers, along with Priyanka Deer, who makes her debut on the show. Speaking of debuts, we're also going to be joined in by two fine minds to talk about the IPL. I'm talking about Tanya Rock and Anjana Shastri in this little fun banter / chat. Yep, we do have guests in the show, as you saw there, but we'll start with football first because the Premier League returned this weekend, and despite the Manchester clubs not playing, it was still lots to talk about. Let's start with Arsenal because they started their campaign at Craven Cottage away and they came away with a 3-0 win. Important times for Arteta this, because the bad news for Arsenal fans this week was that they sold their number 2 goalkeeper, and that is a big problem. But having said that, let's move on to the other results of the weekend quickly, because we're just going to dissect this pretty much the way it goes right now. Leicester 3-0 winners at West Brom, Spurs losing out Everton. Then you take a look at what Sheffield United and how they managed to lose to Wolves 2-0 as well. And not to forget Brighton versus Chelsea, which was of course a late Monday night kickoff, which saw Timo Werner and Kai Havertz get their debuts for the Blues. So all in all, brilliant sort of results. And of course, how could I ever forget that Liverpool versus Leeds match on Saturday night, which was quite brilliant to see, and Leeds is certainly going to give lots of other teams problems. You can take that in writing. So swiftly moving on from football then, and we have to talk about tennis next, because let's face it guys, the US Open was open in many ways, and that meant that Dominic Thiem and Naomi Osaka were champions respectively in their in their draws, I should say. Now, we got chatted with one of the tennis experts that I very well know. Priyanka Deer is what I'm referring to. Let's get into her insights and see what she had to say about the US Open, and plus much more.
Hi Avanish, how are you? It's good to see you.
Long time, it's been ages.
Oh, it's been forever.
It's been forever. Hope all is well though in this COVID strange, unprecedented time.
Well, yeah, all going as best as it can be. So no complaints on this end.
Let's get straight into it then, Priyanka, because you're a big tennis fan. And the US Open, the first Grand Slam of the year, and very strange, like you touched upon, seeing the Arthur Ashe completely empty, of course. What did you make of the US Open this year? What were some of the takeaways? Your first thoughts on the tournament?
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway was US Open is still a US Open, right? As I said before, the crowd and everything is definitely part of a Grand Slam. It's one of the biggest tournaments of the year. It's one of the biggest money makers for the year in the sport as well. But you know, bearing that, it was just so refreshing to see that a tournament does move on. Life does move on. All the players were treating a semi-final the way a semi-final should be treated, treating a final the way it should be treated, taking it seriously. And it was good to see that intensity, despite the, you know, I think the crowd definitely gets you moving or gets you excited, at least while playing. But it was good to see that everything was in place despite the crowd not being there. So it was a fabulous tournament. And gosh, the men's final was, you know, I wish that we could have seen it live. That was definitely a final to watch live for sure, with the comeback that he made. So I think that was the biggest takeaway, that, you know, you have to just lead your life and go on with life despite the circumstances. And a US Open win is still a US Open win at the end of the day, audience or no audience there. So
no, and the fact that, you know, big names missing as well, so it didn't have that real sheen that normally has every year. No Rafa, no Roger. It just made such an open tournament. When you look at the women's side of things, there's so many dropouts, which made it even more open. So let's get straight into it. We'll start with the women's, of course. What do you make about Naomi Osaka? Because she was hogging all the headlines for the right reason, should we say, before the tournament started, with her particular stand on racism. And what's transpired throughout the year. I mean, that's well documented. But what about her win? Because the comeback, and I think that she was trailing, 6-1, 2-love down in the second set, and then to storm back the way she did, quite fabulous.
And it was 6-3, 6-3, right? It wasn't even, I mean, I guess you could say it wasn't even that close. It didn't go into a tiebreaker, or it didn't go into a deciding third set. But that girl is 22 years old. She's a powerhouse. Her strokes are just absolutely flat. And I think Azarenka actually did a really good job of just keeping it consistent. I think her first serve during the first set was flawless. She had like a 94% service rate for first serve in, which is, in my entire tennis career, I don't think I've produced that. Even the matches that I've won 6-0, 6-0. So I think that was absolutely fabulous in terms of first serve percentages. Yeah. But I think that, in the second set and in the third set, what Osaka did, if you're getting to the nitty gritty, is, she improved her first service and the consistency of her backhand improved. And I think that really, really helped her, because Osaka's backhand is a bit of a trouble side for her. Her forehand is a real powerhouse. And Azarenka was trying to get her on the backhand. She was successful in the first set, but once it just started picking up, I think Osaka took advantage of a more consistent game overall, as well as, just powerhouse strokes, and her service is much faster than Azarenka's as well on average. It's about 20-25 kilometers faster just on average. So with a powerful first serve that's consistent plus consistent strokes, I think she just outed Azarenka. But fabulous final. I think both ladies did really well. She climbs, I think, Osaka, if I'm not mistaken, to number 3 now. Yeah. At 22 years old, which is just wow. And
she's got her third sort of Grand Slam. Let's have a word for Victoria Azarenka here, because mum's the word, pun intended, over there. And the fact that she had probably a tougher road to the final, would you say? Of course, knocking out Serena in the semi-final as well. And the fact that the chiropractor said something about Azarenka's fitness in the final. So I think it all kind of culminated against her in many ways, but still, Azarenka to siege into the top 15 like she has before is quite.
She's still top 15, and I just had to put it out there that I think she has been in a custody battle since 2016 on the personal front. So personally as well, tennis is such a mental game, and especially if the crowd is not there. I used to feel good when my parents came to the match. It used to really pump me up. So let alone, a full crowd that's sort of with you or against you, it really makes you perform, and your adrenaline kind of rushes. So it really affects your performance. And I think with all of those factors against her, it's very credible that she came all the way to a final. From 2016, she's just been having issues on the personal front as well. A couple of critics, I think, wrote her off in a smaller tournament, saying that, she looked like a shell of her old self. And that was, I think, earlier this year or a little later last year, if I'm not mistaken. So to mentally kind of come back and then come back into a final, it shows that she's here to stay, because she was touted as being the world's next female tennis dominant player. So I think to beat Serena was definitely good on her mojo. I think that's going to give her a pretty good self-confidence boost for the next tournament. And of course, even though she lost in the final, she's still in top 15 in the world. She's climbed the rankings, so puts her in good stead to be a seeded player in the next tournament coming up, which is, of course, when we're talking about Grand Slams, the French Open. So I think she's got it going on.
Right, before we move on to the men's, I have to talk about Serena Williams, because yet again, another year without a Grand Slam. I think the last she won Grand Slam was 2017. When is she going to get that record? Because it's inevitable. She's also kind of made her presence felt for the French Open. She wants to take part in that. I think the last time she won the French was, I think, way back in 2015. So much is still riding for Serena in her great career. Do you think that'll eventually come through?
Yeah, I think so, because they're putting so much focus on this breaking this record, but I mean, you can't forget that Serena is 38 years old right now. She's had a baby. She's had a child. She's already broken so many records. I consider her a GOAT, greatest of all time. Federer has regarded her as the greatest tennis player of all time ever to exist. And that's a big compliment coming from someone like Roger Federer in tennis as well. So I think that, all the media articles are, of course, focusing on her breaking this title, because if she breaks records, that means that record-wise, she's the greatest player of all time. I think it eluded her this time because she was going strong. I mean, she was, 6-1 up in the first set, and it looked very improbable that Azarenka would actually pull out the win. But I believe that she got a Achilles injury on her Achilles tendon, and that kind of slowed her down. And of course, she's out for the next warm-up to the French Open as well. So I think that she's going to rest it and then come back strong in the French Open. But for her to even reach the semi-finals at 38 years old, that's a record in itself, I feel. But I do think that, I'm really rooting for her. I hope that she gets the record, because it shows that if you're consistently coming to the semi-finals, the quarterfinals, it shows that you have the ability to win it. I mean, come on, that's the last 8 of you, the last 4 of you left to compete for a Grand Slam. So it's eluded her so far. I think since she gave birth to Olympia. She's definitely in it. I think that she can pull out a couple of Grand Slam wins before the end of her career, if not more.
Yeah, the fact that she also kind of alluded to a particular nice fairy tale to tell Olympia down the line, but that will have to wait. Let's swiftly move on to the men's. Let's swiftly move on to the men's next, Priyanka, because after Djokovic being disqualified, which we'll get to, it was an open tournament, like I said. Themes were, if you had to pick a winner before going to the final, many perhaps would have sided with Thiem, but the fact that he did it in such a grand manner, fairy tale, like I said, coming back 2 sets down to 3-2 to nick it, was quite sensational, wasn't it?
It's nothing short of sensational. I think it broke US Open records, right? Because that was the first time that a player had made a comeback, I believe, in a final after being 2 sets down, and also have the 5th set be a deciding tiebreaker. Right. So, I mean, it was a fabulous final. It's just what you want to see in a final, right? Because you, as an audience, of course, there was no audience there, but if you're an audience member and you're watching the final at home and on your TV and having a tennis party at home, you want to see an exciting final. You don't want to see like a 6-0, 6-1, 6-0 win, right?
Yeah, especially if you're
the player, if they can achieve that, but you want to see the excitement and you want to see that kind of win, and it just makes the win as epic. And you know what, even if you're a runner-up, you know at the end of the day you've really given it your all. So it's I think Thiem put on his Twitter, if I'm not mistaken, I wish that there were 2 winners today because of the way that both of those guys played. Zverev being 2 sets up, and then every other set after that going to a tiebreaker. It's just the fittest. But I do think that if you look at it from just the way the tour is going, Thiem lost to Djokovic in the final of the Australian Open, and that was also a 5-setter. So I think that mentally, Thiem was a bit more prepared, a bit more mature in this match going in. I think he handled it a little bit better, just because the Australian Open just took place a few weeks ago. So I think coming into the final, I think he kept his head more in the game, and that's why he was able to pull out those bigger points when it counted the most, especially in the tie breaks and to clinch the set. So I think that's where he edged out Zverev. But Zverev, I mean, my gosh, tremendous game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact the matter remains that he had 3 finals. He suffered 3 final Grand Slam defeats. So, of course, it was inevitable from a team perspective to get the job done. The Austrian did that with a great sort of way, so to speak. Let's just finally finish up by chatting one unsavory incident. I mean, Novak Djokovic, I don't think he meant any malice. Let's put it out there. I personally don't think he meant any malice. We've seen tennis players do that. Maybe it was a lineswoman who was just caught off guard. What's your take on the whole thing? Because I think it's spiraled out of control, right?
I don't actually. I mean, I disagree with you a little bit over there.
Really?
I do think that, yes, of course, he did not mean any malice by it, because you could see, I don't think the camera could capture the actual toss and the hit and the impact that the linesman took and the umpire took. But I think that Djokovic, and you could immediately see that he turned around and said, "I'm sorry." So there was absolutely no malice behind it. But I think the rule book said that you just can't do it, and I think that it was good that they followed. In fact, I put a Twitter poll out. Like, I don't know what people will think of this, because it can go either ways, right? I mean, tennis is so by the rules. When I used to play, if you were caught swearing, you lost points. If you threw a racket, you were disqualified from the match. So we really learned these rules of etiquette early on. Instead of saying the F-bomb, you'd say something like fudge or chocolate fudge on the court just to not get caught. So we used to do things like that. But what it taught us as kids is to really, number one, improve your temperament, and number two, just stick to the rules. And tennis is, the tradition of the sport is sticking to the rules, especially in Grand Slams. I think that, to be honest, in a smaller tournament, he may have been left with a warning, but I think the Grand Slam rulebook is different, and I think that they are very strict about those things. So, you can't mess with the rules. You just can't do that. And I think that other players looking at it can say, hey, well, if he can get disqualified, all of us can probably get disqualified as well. So I think that they made the right call, actually. I think it's just part of the rules, and if you break them, it doesn't matter whether you're Djokovic or Priyanka or Avanish or anyone else, you're out. So I agreed with it. And the Twitter poll also was literally split 50-50. It was 49% for a yes or no, should he have been taken out or not. So I think people had very mixed reactions.
We really appreciate your time, Priyanka, because you're super busy, and we wish you all the best with all your new ventures as well. And we'll catch you on the other side.
Thank you, Avanish. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Pleasure. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, fun chat there with Priyanka indeed. Big shout out to her, of course. And who knows, with the French Open along the way, the next 12 to 15 days, there's more drama expected. Moving on then to the final bit of the show, and I'm going to be talking to two big fans of the IPL. I'm talking about Tanya Rock and Anjana Shastri. They made their presence felt finally on Sporting Beat Social. And what better way to talk all things IPL, including RCB and Kings 11 Punjab. Enjoy this one as we wrap proceedings.
Avanish, my hair's a little bit of a... started recording, I can't.
No, I'm not.
Avanish, you can't record yet.
Tell me when you want me to record, I'll start recording.
You let it
you're
go
recording,
out.
idiot.
No.
I'm not recording it.
Avanish, I'm not fucking blind.
You look like an RCB corporate fan, like proper.
Shut up, yeah. Avanish, I'll go and wear a regular black t-shirt. First of all, I found that God only knows where.
All my RCB jerseys in the puja room. Basically, getting all the blessings as possible.
Even hasn't started yet.
Avanish is never gonna help, so it's fine.
But okay, fine. I know that you guys are time bound, so let's just get cracking with the discussion. Thanks so much once again. Both of you are making your debuts, and much more of you hopefully throughout the course of the season. We'll start with, we have to start with the RCB fans. Sorry, Tanya, we'll come back to you. Anjana, how pleased are you with RCB and their squad this season? I know it's still early days. We haven't ever won an IPL, but do you get a good feeling this year, considering this year's been shit?
Definitely. I think I'm super excited about the team. The team definitely looks a lot stronger on paper. The addition of Aaron Finch is great because that'll really help Virat and AB in terms of another additional leader to the team. The other fun fact is that the team has spent a lot more time before the start of the season this time around. And going by their social media posts, they definitely look like they've got a whole lot of practice in, so hoping for the best.
Yeah, when we talk about RCB generally, I think that whole feeling of hope and excitement going into the season is just crushed before we know it. It's something that Kings 11 Punjab fans would resonate with us, and let's just bring Tanya Rock into this chat right now. We've bantered each other for years, Tanya, but is anything going to change this year? Do you think that the fact that both of us haven't won the IPL, and I say Kings 11 Punjab and RCB that way, do you think, can it change in 2020?
Today I literally saw someone tweet saying, random IPL win prediction, Kings 11 Punjab. And I've liked it, I've commented, I've done everything. I said, if this happens, it'll be the best end or whatever 2020 can bring. So I don't know.
Support Punjab.
And the fact
2020 has been so weird that if Punjab wins, it kind of just like the icing on the cake as well.
Yeah,
it's good.
It'll be really strange because if Liverpool won the Premier League, Punjab winning it. I think 2020 is not as bad as you think, Tanya. But let's talk about Punjab. What really catches your eye? Is it KL and Kumble, that whole Karnataka sort of vibe going on? Or are you guys going to still rely on, say, Maxwell and Gale and people like that?
I don't think we can rely on Maxwell and Gale. I think we will have to rely on KL and the rest. But yeah, I don't think anything is really changed. Punjab tends to rely on like 2 or 3 players, and it's going to carry on the exact same way. Hopefully with Kumble, maybe it'll change this time.
Yeah, and generally from a fan's point of view, I mean, there's no fans at the stadium. Is that going to make any difference to any of the players? What's your take on this? I mean, Jana, we'll start with you here. It's going to be really strange. The IPL without fans is almost an oxymoron, right?
Yeah, I feel like the IPL, most part of it has to do with all the entertainment and the whole vibe of the stadium. And I'm sure that'll have an impact on the people playing. But hopefully from afar, all of us can support our respective teams and make them win.
Yeah, and just also a touch upon Mumbai and CSK, because we both hate them. It's fair to say that. All 3 of us hate them in equal measure. Do you think that those 2 sides will yet again turn it up big and perhaps win the IPL again? Please say no, Tanya.
I hope it's like, if it has to be someone that is in Punjab, I definitely hope it's not RCB, which is unlikely it will be, but it could be like, I'm happy with like Delhi or like Hyderabad as well, but like, as long as it's not RCB, it's like really sad because we all languish at the bottom and we're happy in each other's misery. That's it.
You have some guts to say that. Let's just finish this little chat that we had with predictions. We'll start with Jana. Top 4 predictions first, and then you give me a champion. Who do you think will make the playoffs, and who do you think will win the league entirely?
I think with respect to the playoffs, I would say RCB, Mumbai Indians, Sunrisers and Delhi. And who will win? Obviously RCB. I mean, for the past 12 years, I've supported them and I will support them on the 13th year as well.
Anjana, realistic prediction.
Realistic prediction will win it this time.
We always go in with those realistic predictions, and I really respect Anjana's predictions because that's exactly what I resonate with, RCB to win it. And the fact that just haven't won, we just keep getting our predictions wrong. Tanya, you, top 4 and IPL winner. Any surprises?
I feel like it could be like a Hyderabad or like a Delhi like win. I would hope so. In an ideal world, obviously, I would hope for Punjab to reach the finals and win the final. But if I had to predict top 4, I have to say Chennai, Mumbai. I don't want to say KKR.
RCB, because you know we'll be there.
No chance, RCB. Punjab is not okay. Let's just go with RCB and Punjab, just to make everyone here happy.
Yeah, and your winner?
I can't say.
It's too tight. It's way too tight.
It's way too like optimistic.
Be optimistic, hasn't 2020 taught you? Then that's the only thing we can do at this point.
Punjab then, yeah. Punjab's going to take it. Gale is going to, not Gale, Maxwell's going to have the season he had in 2014. Gale is going to have all of his best seasons at RCB at Punjab. KL is going to kill it. That's my optimistic 2020 prediction.
So I think it's fair to say that all 3 of us are probably going to be picking similar winners, at least from similar location. Kings 11 Karnataka, considering they've just changed their whole sort of squad. Tanya, I mean, I like to throw that in there, being a Bangalore boy, and considering.
I mean, let's not even go there. we have a whole season of banter coming up. We have a whole season.
Yeah, that reminds me. All of you are watching this, by the way. I think we're going to be doing a lot of things during the course of the IPL, especially these quizzes. That's why I'm not putting the girls' knowledge to the test in this one. But going forward, it'll be plenty of laughter, plenty of giggles, and plenty of right answers, more importantly. So we'll wait for that. But again, thank you guys so much for doing this. I know that you guys are in different locations. Tanya, I think, is enjoying herself on the beach in 2020. Only Tanya can do these things. But Anjana, appreciate it, especially with that new rocking RCB jersey. I need to get my hands on that. Or that's the season 10, is it?
That's the new one has come on its way.
Yeah, and a mosquito just also entered as we've got. Fun as ever, plenty of banter along the way, so just get your game on.
Right, so there you have it. Hope you enjoyed that chat with both of them, even though it was just a little bit of banter more than anything else. But you know what, guys, I'm kind of sad right now. I'm feeling it, soaking it in, considering Sportingly Social is done with season 1, but plenty to come in the days to come with regards to the IPL and whatnot. And remember, if you've liked the season, you've liked the show, you've liked the format, do let me know what you guys like. And of course, if you also disagree with certain things on the show, let me know how I can iron my wrinkles up, so to speak, going forward better. Thanks for watching. It's a pleasure as always. Remember, lots more to come. I'm signing off. Until see you next time. See you.